It's like we are live. Hello, everyone. There we go. Sometimes it takes a little bit for it to start going. Okay, I'm here. I'm here live with Diana of Potter's Daughter. All right, here we go. Now we're live. Okay. It was I had the wheel spinning and I was like so going, and I'm here live with Diane of Potter's Daughter. And how are you doing?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you, Ron.
Good to see you. You just put out this little EP, Weighted Keys, and
With that great cover, right? By Joe.
Oh yeah,
that amazing, that painting.
Yeah, I like that. It really stands out. It kind of gets your attention, especially the glasses.
Right. That's the
almost It's almost like a 3D effect.
It is. I know. If you look at it closely.
Yeah. When you see it, it's like, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, the only one song that I'm 100% familiar with is the first one, Night of the Swallow.
Okay.
And I was listening to that, and then I decided, okay, I want to go listen to the original since, I'm very into Kate Bush. And you were channeling her.
Thank you.
I mean, you had all her, the vocal parts, it's like almost perfect, it's like without really being, how do you say, how some people, when they do covers, they just do it like note for note, but it just had a different feel to it. But you knew once the vocals came in, you knew you were channeling her, especially those high notes, and it's like I was just so amazing. I mean, that someone was covering Kate Bush, but not one of the more well-known songs.
Right.
And I was wondering how you chose that particular song.
Well, the point of the EP Weighted Keys was, there, as you mentioned, 3 cover songs. And so I wanted to choose songs that were, it was more a point of sharing something personal about me and my life with people. I always feel like in music, it's sometimes hard to get to know people, you know what I mean? Through their music, you have an impression of someone through their music, but whether or not that's always true, it's difficult to know. And so I chose these 3 songs because they have been important songs for me throughout my whole life. So that the Dreaming was a huge album for me. I remember listening to it when I lived in New York City, and just her art of storytelling and bringing it through the music, and of course the vocals, as you mentioned in that one, are so fun. There's so many different vocal styles in that one song. The high kind of Irish part of it, and then the beginning, which is more of a belt, and then the lower part. It's just really, really fun to sing. And I've been singing that one for years. And so that's why I chose that one, because it's always been really one of my favorite songs by her. I think it's amazing.
Oh yeah. I found out about Kate Bush in the early '90s from a friend of mine that I was working with at a record store, and he says, "You really got to listen to it. I mean, but I'll warn you, it's an acquired taste. You know, just the way because she has a very unusual vocal range. But once he played some of the stuff, and then I got that one the compilation, the whole story.
Mhm.
I got that one first, so I can, see if I really want to buy the CDs up until that point, and I really like that. And then recently I got the volume 1 of 2 of her box set of the remastered of all the CDs,
Mhm.
from the first one up to I believe it's Red Shoes,
Mhm.
and I hadn't heard Red Shoes because I went through different musical phases that where I like certain things, and if I only focus on that, and anything else that was outside of that area, I just got rid of, and so I could get more of certain. And now I'm just kind of going back and getting things that I listened to that had some meaning to me, you know, kind of bring it back, going back to your youth, so to speak, to revisit, times that were a little different. And but yeah, that's and especially nowadays, that Kate Bush is back on the charts.
Incredible.
I mean, that's just amazing. I mean, it's like she's getting her due, you know.
Feel the same. Well deserved. So,
Yeah,
so well deserved.
yeah. And it's like hopefully some of those people that have been liking her that song go and discover the rest of her catalog. There's so much, if they like that song, there's so many more that I think are even better. Especially like this particular song too. And I
You know,
noticed that.
it's interesting, but her albums, so they have different flavors, don't they? So if you like that song, if you learn about Kate Bush through the Hounds of Love, probably a good idea to go get that album and listen to it, because she has distinct sounds to her, the different phases, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the first 3 albums had a more you want to say traditional sound, and then when she got in, then um, from the Dreaming forward, she started using a little more of the synthesizers and things as the basis. I forget what was that instrument. I was watching a documentary about it, and the name completely just eludes me. The instrument feed in different sounds, and you can use those back on your keyboard.
Right, the Fairlight, I think it was.
Yes, yeah, that's it. And I think she's one of the first people to really incorporate that in her music. And
That's what I've read as well. Mhm.
yeah, good documentary that that's on YouTube. Uh, and the next one you have Catherine. Now, I can be honest, this is the first time listening to it. I have not heard the original, um, but it's just a nice song. It's really
The
that's
original
what.
is beautiful as well. I mean, the reason that I included that one is because that is, for me, indicative of my online prog community and dear friends. And I learned about Tom Kelly through Nikki Hart Kelly. And so I listened to his music, and I mean, it's amazing. He has some amazing, amazing music. But when I heard Catherine for the first time, I immediately could hear it on the piano. You know, sometimes that just happens, you just hear something. And so I asked Nikki if she would allow me to make a piano rendition of it, and she kindly gave me permission to do so. So that's why I included that piece. I love that piece, but the original is amazing.
Well, yeah, it's nice when you can interpret it a different way, you know, instead of like an exact cover of it, you know,
Mm,
uh, where you put yourself into it, you know.
exactly.
And the last one that you have on there is the song about the midway, Joni
Mhm.
Mitchell. Now I know very little about her, you know,
About
and
Rachel?
about Joni Mitchell. I have very little about her. I mean, it's just so much music out there that I have yet really to discover. But it's very, for me, it's very cool to discover it sometimes through covers, because then you know, I always want to go back and listen to the original to see, you know, the inspiration, as you know, and you know, as to why people choose to do certain covers. You know, whether it's, you know, some people choose to do covers because it was a popular song, or and then like I was reading about your choosing these were more personal,
Yes.
and I find those more, those are the more interesting covers, because you're not doing it because, oh well, this is a top 40 song.
Hmm.
You know, I don't, you know, anybody can do a top 40 song, you know, and it's like, but when you pick a song that has a deep meaning to you for whatever the reason is, you know, personal, or the time that it came out, or the first time you listened to it, you know, it's a nice little, like a little snapshot, you know.
Absolutely. You know, I didn't even know when I first heard that song, I didn't know it was a Joni Mitchell song, because the first time I heard it, it was a Bonnie Raitt cover of that song. So I actually, for years, thought that was a Bonnie Raitt song. And then I realized it was a Joni Mitchell song. So Bonnie Raitt had made a cover of that. I mean, there's a lot of covers of that song, even though it's not by far and wide, certainly not Joni Mitchell's most famous song, by far and wide not. But yeah, Bonnie Raitt has a really good cover of it.
Another good artist too, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you know, there's sometimes, you know, when prog artists do cover songs, they usually do, like, you know, the usual suspects, you know, and stuff like that. And I think there's too many of those kind of cover albums out there. You know, it's like it's be nice that it's people kind of dive into, um, you know, like they call the deep cuts, you know, and the things that,
Exactly.
because I don't know about you, but I kind of find the deep cuts more interesting than the hits.
I mean, it depends, of course, but I do agree with you, Ron. And I don't know. I think that it, if I'm going to do it for myself, if I'm going to do a cover song, I'm going to choose one that has a connection and meaning to me. And of course, there are plenty of prog songs that I'm hugely connected to, but these were a little bit outlier. I mean, Kate Bush obviously is considered prog. Joni Mitchell, I don't know. I mean, Shadows and Light was really a great live album with Jaco Pastorius and Pat Metheny and Lyle Mays and all of that. I mean, it's kind of jazz prog, maybe a little bit. I don't know, but and I think Tom Kelly is considered prog, but my rendition probably not, because it's just a piano solo, but maybe, I don't know. I don't, anyway, my point is I don't really like to think in terms of genre. I just like to do what I like. I'm old enough to do what I want to do now, Ron. I don't have to.
You don't have to follow the rules. Yeah, it's like I that's where it comes out. The song come out best when you do what you like.
What's the point otherwise, right? We're not getting
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah. So obviously this is just a short little EP. And what's on the horizon?
Well, Jan and I have been working on the next Octarine Sky album, and we're really excited about it. Well, we were hoping to start recording it, and we were hoping to finish it early next year. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do that, but at any rate, we're working on it, and we have most of the material already. There's going to be another song from the wonderful composer Julia Schwartz, who wrote 7 on Close to Nearby. But this time she's written this really cool vocal piece with a poem from a good friend of mine, Joel Cresanda. And Joel Cresanda actually wrote the lyrics for She Is Dreaming from our album, The Blind Side. He also wrote the lyrics for that. And so she wrote this really cool song with that poem. And then we also have some more lyrics by Rhonda Dubiel, who's written a ton of lyrics for us, both Potter's Daughter and Octarine Sky. So, and of course, we're hoping to have the similar lineup. But of course, we'll see how everybody's schedule goes. So.
Oh yeah. Because you had two of the busiest guys in music.
I know. But two of the best.
Yeah, and the most current thing that I heard with Simon Phillips, he hooked up with the guitar player from Fate's Warning, and he did. It's just a straight on hard rock album. The guy with Fate's Warning, Jim Matheos, the guitar player, and he just wanted to just do something, nothing prog metal. He just wanted to just do a just nice, simple hard rock song album, and it's like to hear the differences between Octarine Sky and then the band's called Kings of Mercer.
I'll have to look at
Mercia, and it's just to see the difference that, between the two. I mean, what a versatile drummer that guy is.
Absolutely. I mean, he's so versatile, as you said. He's so musical. He's amazing. He's an amazing musician and an amazing person.
It's amazing. It's like he's more well known in the musical community and prog fans than he is overall with rock fans. Because you can probably say his name to some rock fans and they'll go, but with
he played with the Who.
Yeah, and he played with the Who. So it's like, and so it's kind of cool that if you can get him again, and
I would love to, because he just brought so much musicality to that album. The choices that he made they're stunning. I'm still stunned stunned. And I must listen to that album. I mean, sounds weird to say listen to your own album, but like I've listened to it so many times and I'm still blown away by what Simon brought to that album, and Guthrie and Ahmet. I mean, they all, the addition of those amazing musicians cannot be understated. The
Yeah,
importance.
it's amazing. It's amazing when you can work with a different set of people than than you did with Potter's Daughter. You know, it's a different group, and that's um I think you can get something different out that you probably normally wouldn't as Potter's Daughter with another that you got on Octarine Sky. You know, it's like it just, I spoke to several different musicians, and they find that when even if they're, let's say, in either a trio format or a quartet, and they stay within that kind of format, but then they use different, like a different guitar player, different drummer, it's like you get different output, all of a sudden you hear how the guitar player's playing, and then it's like, oh, something else opens up in your mind. Oh, I could do this now, or so, that's, I think that kind of helps with maybe your writing, the music portion of it, get a little something, maybe something different than you probably would normally do, which, I think for a musician, that's a good thing.
Definitely.
Because if you just stay within a certain, safe zone, it's like you're just going to put out the same music over and over.
Which sometimes it does seem like that's what the market wants. You like, let's be honest. But again, I mean, I'm just going to do what I want at this point. And I'm grateful to be working with Jan. He's doing an amazing job. And yeah, I'm not gonna bother myself with the market, but it is true. It's easy to stagnate.
Yeah. And with the progressive rock community, for the most part, we like to hear something. We don't want to hear the same old thing. But then there's a lot of times where people get upset when their band changes something. It's like how dare you?
I know.
It's like, well, do you want us to continue to be a progressive rock band, or do you want us to just be kind of, stuck like a record, just going back and forth to the same sound over and over. I think you can have your signature sound and expand on it always.
It's interesting because the title of the genre, progressive, has, of course, that word has its own meaning, but it seems like some people do associate that word to a sound that I don't think. I mean, of course, that sound is in the progressive genre, but I just don't think that it's limited to that. I think that genre, and I'm grateful to the prog community, because that's the community that welcomed us and welcomed our music, because I don't think that we fit in so neatly into that sound, that is traditionally associated with prog, but we're still trying to do something different. So that's maybe the saving grace of it. And for me, that's what's interesting, rather than try to imitate a sound.
I agree. That's why I like whenever, a band does something a little different, kind of still, you'll have a familiar thing with them, whether it be a vocal or, bass or drum sound or things like that. But then, doing something a little different.
Mhm.
It's like with you, with Potter's Daughter and Octarine Sky, the familiar thing is your vocals. And so it's like you could do, how do they say, the sky's the limit as to what you can do, because people will know that it's you.
I hope
Regardless.
so.
Well, regardless of, you could put out a full synthesizer album and they'll know it's you, because once you start singing, it's, oh,
Yeah.
that's Diane. That's Diane. I know her. And that's where, for me, I like that. And it's kind of neat when, like I was just saying earlier, how that guy from Fate's Warning could go from technical progressive sound to just a basic straightforward rock sound, and it's like, and he did it not, I was reading an interview, he did it not to make money, but he just did it because he wanted to do a relaxed album, nothing technical. Yeah, it's like he just wanted to do something a little different, I don't know what's.
Sometimes I wonder why I'm not just like a folk musician or something, like, you know what I mean? Just like play some simple chords and sing some simple melodies. I have everything just so complicated, but can't.
Well,
help.
it's like, because they put out a lot of really technical kind of sounding music lately. So it's like for him to just kind of take a break from that,
Definitely.
But it's like musicians do what they do. It's like that's what they want.
Absolutely.
So what about the future of Potter's Daughter?
Yeah, I'm kind of reinventing it, and I'm not exactly sure how it's going to go. I'm playing with the idea of doing some solo performances, but yeah, I'm not sure. All I know is that for Potter's Daughter, I actually do have almost a full album for Potter's Daughter. I'm just not sure how I want to approach it yet. That hasn't clarified in my mind. But that kind of more acoustic, I mean, it's not acoustic, right? Because there's electric instruments involved, but that more acoustic approach, that Potter's Daughter will be that, and Octarine Sky is sure going to be the heavier project of the two, and the more complex and more orchestrated, more heavily arranged, like Close to Nearby. And Potter's Daughter, I will be probably more like like maybe like the things that we did in the past, like This Winter's Child and stuff like that, a little bit maybe more folk prog, but probably heavy piano oriented, piano vocal, stuff like that. I'm just not sure about the instrumentation, if I want to do it just piano and voice, or I'm not sure yet. Something's going to happen though.
Something. Yeah, that's the one. It's musicians amaze me, where it's like they have so many projects going on inside their brain. It's like, which I put out first. What and it's just, and then you got these people that are just so like impatient with the bands and artists. It's like, when are you going to put out something? When are you going to put out something? It's like, step inside my brain and see why, see the reason. It's like there's so many things, because I could imagine, you have your different projects, and it's like, well, which, maybe something from this project isn't really fitting, but it'll go over to this, so it's like probably like a constant battle,
It's
as
not really like a battle, but there's a lot of, I mean, everybody knows who's ever done it. There's so much organization that goes into it. And, everything, the way that we do it, everything is really carefully thought out. And I like to sit on things for a while to see if when I come back to them, if I still agree with what I've done or if I feel like I have to change it. So I in that way I'm careful, so that's why it does take a little bit longer.
yeah, you don't want to rush the music, else, just, we'll, when something is rushed, the fans will kind of hear that you're just like putting it out as is, it's like, but then again, you don't want to take too long on it, or else, then you start getting like being too of a perfectionist on it,
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough. You have to find that balance.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, know when to release it, and say, okay, it's done, you know, and then when live you can do those things that you thought, oh, that I forgot to put in the song, because who wants to go to a live show and hear the music note for note? I mean, that's boring.
Yeah,
You can,
it's definitely the classical music approach.
yeah, it's like you hear the same. It's like, well, why did I go out? I could have listened to the CD it over again because they're doing the same. If the CD is 43 minutes, the show was 43 minutes. It's like,
Every
you know,
solo note for no, right?
yeah, yeah. And it's like, that's no fun. It's fun when the musicians expand and maybe flesh it out a little bit more. If
Definitely.
especially if, especially if it's something like I said just a bit ago, if it's something that when you finished a song, put it on the album, and then you later had an afterthought of, oh, I could have done this. Oh, I could put a little more piano here, or a little less piano here. Stuff like that. Uh, so that's where the live part. It's like two different sides of the person. The music.
Absolutely. When we play live, we always change it up because we give Jan another solo in every song. So like, all right, Jan solo.
It's like, yeah, that's a good way for the rest of the band to take a cigarette break and let him
Oh
draw.
no, not that, but yeah.
I think
No,
they did that a lot in the '70s with some of those bands that like to do solos. It's like, oh, okay, we'll step off stage while such and such does his solo, and have a cigarette break or whatever.
or like the Aristocrats when it's the drum solo, Guthrie and Brian sit down on a chair and crack open a beer and drink it.
Right.
I know, it's funny.
Yeah. And it's great that now that we're getting more and more live shows opening back up.
Yeah, I hope we can get out there and play some more. Where since it's tricky because we just recently moved, and so you know trying to find people nearby where we live and how to financially support playing it, because so many of the shows are on the East Coast, that we had been playing on, they're on the East Coast. And so now that's a 2-day drive for us. And Yeah, so it's kind of tricky right now, which is another reason why I'm thinking about maybe I would do some solo shows, just piano and me singing. And yeah, just because it's tricky. It's tricky. I'm sure the longer I live here, the more I'll figure it out, but
Right.
it's taken a little time.
Yeah, I noticed that, a lot of people like to, when they move, they tend to move to areas where there's like more music. And I mean, up where I am, I kind of think it's more of a wasteland because not many things come up here. It's usually those,
And Maine, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot of the legacy type bands come up here that haven't put out an album in years or decades, and they're just living off their hits, and which is fantastic. But it's like I like to see some newer bands too, and it's like, and it's a very it's a big contrast. It's like you have those, and then you have the hip hop, and then metal bands. I mean, not just regular heavy metal or prog metal. It's like these extreme. It's like with those Cookie Monster vocals, and
Like punk metal.
yeah, it's like and it's like, okay, I seen what the band looks like, so I know what the audience is going to look like, and I'm going to be like a sore thumb. Even if I like that band, I'm going to be a sore thumb out there, you know. And it's like almost every metal show that I've ever been to, I kind of stick out because everyone else has shoulder length or longer hair, and I've always had short hair, so it's like, but it'd be nice. I mean, because they have two big venues here. One that's an outdoor one. I always thought would be great for progressive rock. Since you have like Prague Day, it was out there, and it's here. It's out, and it's right next to a river, so it's like pretty cool. And then people could, on the off time, they could, if they wanted to, go take a tour of Bangor, and then they have an arena. I think it's like 10,000 seats maybe, um, but still, that's a pretty good size arena.
There it
Uh,
is.
and then they have several little tiny clubs, so it's like there is venues here. It just, you know, it's really, I hate to say it's not a progressive rock. It's
It's hard, and it's hard just because traveling is so expensive, right? So Maine isn't on the way to anywhere unless you're going up to Nova Scotia.
yeah, going there or Quebec, because off to go towards the western side,
Right.
you get to Quebec, so it's like, it's out of the area, but it's such a welcome change for me coming from a big metropolis like Los Angeles, where it's like, it's like hell.
Did
You
you move
know,
from LA to Maine?
yep, sure did.
Oh my goodness. How did you adapt to the change in weather?
Um, Winters, I'm still not used to it. Summers, I love it because I'm not.
You mean those
I
2 weeks in July, Ron?
Yeah, that 2 weeks in July. Yeah, that's the thing. The first one of the first years I was up here, it rained in July, and it's like I wasn't used to rain in July. I mean,
I love Maine. Maine is gorgeous. We went on vacation almost every summer up to Maine when I was in my 20s, and I love Maine.
yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. I mean, uh, it's within steps. You can get from like a urban area to rural. You know, it's like, and then as you go north, it gets really rural. You know, to the point where there's like I say cities, and then I get corrected. No, they're not cities; they're towns. You know, of like 1,500 people here and there, and I'm like going, I don't know if I could handle that small of an area. Then everybody's going to know my business. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like they're going to go, oh, that's that guy that listened to that weird music.
That's right.
You know, but I'm looking forward to more music for you. This is kind of this one right here. If everybody hasn't got it
Thank
already,
you.
get it. And two things: buy it, and then I think go to. I don't really use it, but people that use Spotify, buy this first, then listen to it a lot on Spotify. Get her numbers up there. You know,
Yeah, right.
I mean, I think it's a good way to get people to get drawn into your music if people actually think that way. I think our generations will think that way, but the younger generations will. It's like, well, why do I go buy this CD when I can listen? Yeah, but it's like it could be off Spotify tomorrow, and then all of a sudden your favorite song or your favorite album is gone. And then now what do? You know,
Mhm.
you go into a panic like and start complaining on your social media. How dare they take my favorite song or album off? You know, it's like, well, if you had the CD or digital,
Right.
you own it. You can do it, play it however many times. You don't even have to go online to play it. You know,
Absolutely. I know.
everything. I mean, I think it's a good thing if it's used in the right way. Spotify can benefit the artist. You know, just like you know income, and also people that are curious about music, they can go explore and find something new that they, it's like, okay, it's like, I never thought about this band before, but here I can listen to it. And then if I really like it,
Mhm.
I'll go and buy it, and so,
Right. Right.
and especially, Bandcamp does those Bandcamp Fridays, I don't know how much longer they do those, but you know, that benefits the artists, and Bandcamp itself benefits the artists. Especially,
Absolutely.
you know, I'm sure you get most of your sales from Bandcamp.
For Potter's Daughter exclusively, yeah. I mean, we did use a distributor for Octarine Sky, so that's why you can buy Octarine Sky, over Amazon or what wherever you buy music, you can buy it. Digital World, all of those places. But then we also started selling Octarine Sky on Bandcamp. And what I like so much about Bandcamp is the opportunity to just connect a little bit with the people who purchase our music. So I get to see their name and I can, send them a little note to say thank you. And I like that. I like that aspect of it. It feels more personal. I mean, of course, if you're really famous and selling tons and tons and tons, that would become impractical. I absolutely realize that, but at our level, it's just nice in a way to be able to to see it,
Oh
like
yeah, to connect.
on it's so big. I mean, we've been asking people to help us out because of our distributor, to write some reviews of Octarine Sky and Close to Nearby on Amazon, because it really helps. And I mean, Amazon is like so huge when it comes
Right.
to distributing that it almost dwarfs everything else.
Oh yeah, yeah, and like you were saying with the on the Bandcamp, it's like it gets to be almost like a community. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
you see familiar faces, and then you see new faces, and then especially when you know, I think I haven't written a review on Amazon in ages, but the one on Bandcamp pretty easy. You know, it's
Easy
just
on Amazon too, but I mean, it just depends on, I mean, if you're not on Amazon, then you don't think to do it. And I mean, I most of the people that I'm in touch with on social media, I think they do use Bandcamp mostly. Is
yeah.
that what you do, Ron?
I use Bandcamp. I use Amazon. Uh, and then some of the times, if a band is doing like a pre-order campaign on
Mm,
from their own site, you know, I do that.
sure.
Um, I I like the fact of getting, especially like imported
Mhm.
stuff on Amazon because the prices to get something shipped from Europe or the UK is crazy. I mean,
It's crazy.
there's one thing that I that I love to get. It's like this nice yearbook and everything, but I saw the price of the postage is almost the price of the CD itself. You know, it's like, and I, you know, you can't really afford that. You know,
It's crazy. I mean, if I have to send an LP to Europe, it's $30.
that's crazy. You know, yeah,
So it's hard. Yeah.
yeah.
That's why Amazon is good because you go through the distributor and then like they send it over to Amazon UK or Amazon Deutschland or whatever, even in Japan.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's like you got different. It's kind of cool to have different places to get the album.
Yeah.
You know, uh, you got a couple. I think there's two major prog vendors left. You know, they got Greg Walker and Ken Golden. They their places, Symphonic Records and Razor's Edge. Those are the two that I before the internet, what where you can get things from. It was like those were some of the two sources. There was a few others that have since closed their doors
Hmm.
and selling their remaining warehouse of CDs on Discogs. You know, that's another cool place to get, especially out of print stuff or you know or things that you can't find. I think the worst place is eBay because people just overinflate the price of something.
I don't go on eBay, so I'm not familiar.
Yeah, they over. I mean, every once in a while I find like a really good deal, but for the most part, it's like where everyone else, like Amazon, let's say they'll have the CD for $20 over on eBay, it's like double, you
That's
know. Or when bands put out um, a limited special edition, maybe of a certain amount,
hmm.
people tend to buy maybe duplicate copies, one for themselves and one to put up on eBay, and I don't think that's cool, because it kind of ruins it for, it's like if the band sells 1,000 copies and there's someone that's bought duplicates, then there's not 1,000 individual people that are getting it.
That's right.
It's, there's less than that. And it's like, then it takes away from someone that really wants to get it, but now that it's sold out or out of print, and then they go and find it on eBay for like double or triple the amount. I've seen some CDs that are going for like hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, a CD? for $100. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy. I mean, I did see when we first got the Octarine Sky vinyl, and Simon and Guthrie signed it. And so we all signed it. And so I was looking around online to see what what they sold for signed LPs. And I mean, some of them, like Steven Wilson signed LPs on sale on eBay for like $1,000. And I mean, you could probably go to a show and just get one,
Exactly. Yeah, go to a show, get one, then afterwards, have dinner or something like that for the same price.
Oh, yeah.
Pay for your hotel room.
Right? I know, it's crazy.
It gets to the point where and I hope that some of those artists that put those limited editions out, that that they go out of print and they look on eBay and see, well, if my $20 album is getting $100 on there, so maybe I should maybe put it back in print so I can get some of that money.
Maybe.
It's like it's a shame but that's just the pitfall of having an open market like eBay and Amazon's. I've seen some crazy prices on out of print things too. So
really?
Yeah, I saw one that was like $80. I wanted it, but I'm not saying I don't want it.
I don't want it that bad.
Not bad, not that bad. So again, gotta want to promote this here.
Thank you.
Really good. And also, if you're just kind of coming into Potter's Daughter right here, she has it's like one studio album.
Yeah, our debut Potter's Daughter debut album, The Blind Side, that was the first thing we did. And that has Lincoln Goines playing bass, and Amit Chatterjee playing guitar, and Randy Crafton playing acoustic drum set, and then Jan and me. And then after that, I think we did Blood and Water with Annie Haslam, right?
Yeah, and
then
you just did a couple little EPs and singles.
Right. We didn't, after The Blind Side, we did in Potter's Daughter, we did not do another full-length album yet. But as I said, I already have material for it. So I know we will do it. But first, we're going to do the Octarine Sky album.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really psyched about it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you got a lot of people. I mean, the people that have heard the first one are like, they're raving about it.
Thank you. Yeah, we're thrilled. We were thrilled. I mean, of course, it was a thrill to have Simon on it, and then a further thrill when Guthrie agreed to play on it. And we've been working with Amit for, since the beginning of Potter's Daughter. So we were really grateful to be able to have him on it as well. But yeah, we're just thrilled the way that it came out. And of course, Simon mixed it, and he in the mix brought so much to the final sound of it as well. And he and Jan worked together to really create it. And I'm thrilled with the way it came out. And that's why we're really psyched to get the second album out, because we just had such a positive experience putting that first one out, even though it was a lot of work, but we're gonna
yeah. Well, I seen you posting up on your various social media accounts the different reviews from different countries. So it's like,
yeah,
you're getting your name out there.
I hope so. It's interesting too, because once in a while I get a message, oh, I just discovered Octarine Sky from someone's review, or I recently got one, I just discovered it. I guess Bandcamp puts out You Might Like stuff. And I guess they must have included Octarine Sky on one of those. And I heard from a couple people about that. And so it's just interesting where people hear about it, you know, because obviously on social media, your reach is only as far as it is. You can't, it's hard to expand.
But yeah, I was just remembering back before the explosion of the internet, how we found out about things, and it was, some of it was word of mouth, some of it was from magazines,
And on the radio.
and on the radio, and then if you went into the record store and you flip through the records and you see an interesting cover, you know, you buy it in hopes that it's going to be a good album, you know. So that, you know, the generation today, they're very lucky that they have, it's right on their fingertips as to, you know, they type in a certain sound that they're looking for, and, you know, hundreds of albums pop up as to, or artists pop up, you know, for them to discover.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. I don't even remember how I found out about majority of my prog stuff in the early 90s. You know, I worked at a record store, so I had that. But other than that, you know, the early days of, you know, when the I guess they said in the early 90s, around 92, 93 was when prog just kind of came back a little bit more, where they were kind of revisiting the 70s sound. You know, there was a lot of prog fest on the West Coast as there are on the East Coast. I was at one of them for almost all of the incarnations, and they brought over a lot of great bands, and that was it. That was the best way. I mean, the audience heard the band play, and they ran out like crazy to the vendor section. Oh, you know, I need to buy it. Oh. And it was just, it was cool and funny at the same time. Almost like, you know, like they've been in a trance, and now they got to go and get all the albums from the band, you know. Or if it's a new band, you know, they get the one or two albums that they have out, you know. So it's that was the way to find out about it, you know, newer bands back in like 93, you know. And then the early days of the internet, still couldn't find too much about progressive rock, you know, on it wasn't until like the 2000s that, if you remember MySpace.
Sure do. I was never on it, but I remember my friends.
I liked that, but then I think they had an issue is there was a way of how you put your favorite people, and you can change it however you want. And I think there was a lot of fights on, oh, how come I'm not your favorite anymore? And it's like I use that as a way of, okay, you know, a newer artist. I wanted to feature a newer artist so that people can see, oh, there's, you know, something different. So it's like, I tell people, it's like, no, it's like, it's not, I'm not playing favorites. I'm just basically trying to change it up so people, you're promoting people, you know. And it's like, here, you know, and in the very little way that, you know, if it worked or not, you know, I don't know, but it's like, it was a cool way. And I don't know what happened with it, but then, you know, Facebook just exploded. Because I remember Facebook used to be just something for the teens, and then all of a sudden, all us adults were coming over and taking it took over.
You know, Facebook is what it is. I mean, for all its, you know, pros and cons, but it, you know, I traveled a lot when I used to travel around a lot playing piano and singing. And that was before the And now I can find those people over Facebook whom I met when I was traveling. I mean, it's great in that way to be in touch over a distance. I really like that.
Well, yeah, you can keep in touch with people um, almost instantly. You
Yeah,
know,
right.
you know, it's just a matter of now. It's not so much how quickly you can get to them; it's how quickly they respond to you. It's like they get the message. You see people get the message almost instantly. Now you got to see, okay, are they busy now? Can they answer me really, really quick? Or I get conversations with people that it goes kind of days between a question. I say, hey, how are you doing? And then 3 days later, oh, I'm doing good. How are you? And so it's like you get into where it's almost too much of a convenience where it's like, oh, they can use their finger, type up, and then just throw their phone off to the side and, do something and not really, care, or to take the time to talk to someone online.
Yeah, that's true. But on the other hand, you can just that's a negative part of it. But that same thing in a more positive light is that, even if like you're, busy doing something and you see you have a message, you can quick look at it and just like quick type in the response. And then you have to get back to work or whatever it is that you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's not like you have to, because I think that was always a challenge, and it still is for me a challenge where phoning is concerned. I always feel like I have to, set aside a certain block of time so I can
Right.
phone with someone. And sometimes it's just hard to find. I mean, we're all busy these days, it's hard to set aside that block of time sometimes. Whereas like if you just can pick up your phone and just say blah, 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 and then set it down and go back to work and doing what you need to do. I don't know. There's positive and negatives about it for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's I think it's a convenience now that we just kind of use it. Kind of, I hate saying it, using it more like an answering machine type of a thing.
Right.
Like leave a message at the beep. And
Right.
it's like I'll get back to you when I do.
Right.
And it's like, and it was just cool. Because a lot of people are working
I'm busy.
and why they're responding during their business hours. Sometimes you kind of wonder, it's like, what are you actually doing that you have that much free time,
Their employer's wondering that too, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like, um, but it's a great way. Facebook is a great way to network.
I mean, that's how we met, Ron, right?
Yeah, like-minded people. You find out music, and then you get recommendations from people, and I don't know about you, but I've gone down rabbit holes because someone tells me one thing, and then I find out, oh, well, the band has such and such in that I like, so I go, keep on going down that rabbit hole, and it gets expensive.
It does.
And especially during the early days of the pandemic, I mean, when everybody's trapped indoors, that I got more recommendations for music than I had almost the entire time that I've been on the internet, just that short period of time, and it's like, so it's cool, it's a cool tool when it's used correctly.
Yeah, agreed.
When you stop the bickering and just start saying, hey, let's come together with music and other art forms and talk about it and promote. promote artists that are starting out or whatever, or someone that, maybe is a late bloomer to music, they never thought that they can make anything. And then here's the internet. You can have, like, especially during, I mean, the first part of 2020, there was a lot of people doing that Facebook Live, doing, playing their pianos or their guitars, and, and having a nice little group of people coming in and listening to them, and then having that the tip jar and things like that, like the old piano bar,
Yeah.
a virtual piano bar,
Yeah.
But, well, I wanted to really thank you for taking the time, especially to talk about this and other things. I
Thank you so much for having me on, Ron. I appreciate it.
and I'm always around for bands and artists that they come on to talk about their music and their releases. So it's always a pleasure. It's and also too it's a great way you can I always tell people you can you can use the video to promote yourself. Pick out sound bites or whatever. Whatever it's needed to help get more sales and more exposure to your music.
Right. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's really great to talk to you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, Ron.
And I give my best to Jan.
Will do.
You're busy out there somewhere doing something, right?
Must be.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I'll talk with you again soon, and hopefully by the next, when the next auctions guy is uh, ready to go.
We'll let you know.
All right. All right. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
All right.